Do you need help purchasing your car insurance? Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph/car-insurance. Here, you can compare prices and customize your insurance coverage from many of the Philippines' top providers. When you've selected the insurance that's best for you, simply fill out the application and complete the transaction with ease through Visa, MasterCard, GCash, GrabPay, or PayPal, and receive your policy within the next business day. Get the best deal on insurance with AutoDeal. In the mid-90s, my cousin had a 3-door RAV4. And I remember it was a Dubai spec because every time we'd hit 120 kilometers per hour, it'd go ding, 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 ding. And then sometime later, my best friend got himself a 5-door RAV4, which was absolutely great. I loved that car because it was gimmick at night during the weekdays and then out for the beaches on the weekends. Both of them were ridiculously quick too because it was a 2-liter double overhead cam. About a decade later, though, with the variations of the RAV4, I kind of lost touch with it because I didn't feel like the design was that edgy anymore, that young. Until it was brought to me that, well, the RAV4 can't stay in the past. It's got to evolve, and it's evolving with the customer too. And then I understood, which reignited my love for the RAV4. It's bigger, it's a little bit more mature, and this time, it's a hybrid, which is absolutely great. So this is the 2022 HEV RAV4, HEV meaning hybrid electric vehicle. Now we're going to take you through a quick walk around of this car and tell you some of the key features that it has and some of the important stuff too, which is like, for instance, where we're going to start, which is what's under the hood. Now under the hood, if I may open it for you, is a much larger engine than that 2-liter in the past. Now it's a 2.5-liter double overhead cam. But instead of it being an all-wheel drive, now it is a front-wheel drive. So I guess you can say that it's a RAV2, but it's still a RAV4 nonetheless. This engine and its hybrid engine combined will give you it will give you 215 horses and 221 Newton meters of torque. Now, those numbers alone are impressive, but the fuel consumption figures are even more so. We took this car from Manila to Tarlac. Now, we weren't driving it then, but we drove it from Tarlac. Then we head on over through the traffic of Tarlac, and it was quite heavy. It was about 6 in the evening when we were trying to get out of Tarlac. Then we hit Esitex, and then on Esitex we entered Subic, and then the twisties around Subic to get here to Camana Bay, which is quite deep inside Clark, or rather quite deep inside Subic. The combined figure of that was 18.5 kilometers per liter. That, in this size of an automobile, is really, really awesome. Quite impressive. So I'm gonna close this now because there's a lot of heat coming out of there. And this hood is extremely light. I found that if I dropped it from this height, it wouldn't close. So I need to actually drop it from a much higher height. I hope I don't break the automobile. Anyway, let's get on to the exterior of the automobile, and then obviously after that we'll go into the interior, and of course lastly I'll tell you exactly what the prices are. I say prices because there are 2 variants of the RAV4, and they're both hybrids, mind you. This is the limited edition, or LTD, and then there's the XLE. So first, at starters, you can tell that obviously it is a hybrid vehicle because Toyota likes to put sort of like a blue tinge on most of their vehicles that are hybrids. So that is a very big indicator there. You've got a very wide grille, and it's kind of boxy from up front. So it's a departure from the previous generation where it was much rounder, much younger, right? This one, it's a little bit more square, a little bit more mature, really. I know I use that term a lot, but truthfully, if you look at the automobile, it does speak a little bit more with kindness and some knowledge behind it, kind of a thing. This is an all-LED affair, from your headlamps to your DRLs to your fog lamps. Everything there is DRLs, and the projectors are also auto-leveling, which is quite nice. It's got a big grille underneath too. Down the side, we're looking at the wheels, and these are 18s wrapped in 60 series tires. The lower variant, the XLE, will have 17-inch wheels, again with 60 series tires, but these 18s look really delicious on this particular car. I know I used that term on another car, but yeah, these are delicious. This design, I actually told Jack that it kind of reminds me of those big ice structures that come out in Superman's Fortress of Solitude, which I thought was really complicated, and I thought it would just add a lot of color. Jack said it looks like a flower. Thank you very much, Mr. Shakespeare. Continuing down the side, you've got roof rails up on top, chrome accents found around the door, or rather just up on top, repeaters on the side mirror, and get this particular unit, or this RAV, has got cameras on both sides of the automobile, so you have a 360-degree view monitor. Very nice touch. Chrome accents on the door, and just a few sculpts, a few lines down the side, which add to its more boxy shape, I might add. Sorry, before we move on to the back, I know that Jack was already moving there. Gotta tell you that you've got solid discs at the rear and ventilated discs up front. This obviously is where the magic happens. This is where all the regeneration happens, where when you step on the brakes or when you're coasting downhill, there's a little bit of a resistance that you feel, and that's basically how the batteries charge themselves. And when the battery charges itself, that's where it can push the power to the electric motor, which aids in the automobile. It's so cool, in fact, that electric motor that Jack and I noticed while we were coming to Subic. There were obviously some ups and downs and some twisties. Now on the twisties, obviously the motor will, the gasoline motor will kick in. Number one, it's so seamless. Like you don't know that the engine, or rather the gasoline engine, just pops back in. And number two, if it's not too high of an incline, the electric motor is actually doing all the work without the gasoline motor. It was just a joy to understand that you're moving without using any fuel whatsoever, and uphill too. It's pretty cool, actually. Here at the rear, a little bit more of a blue tinge on the Toyota logo, just to show you that it's a hybrid. And if that isn't enough, well, then obviously there's a hybrid sign found down on the right-hand side. And then, of course, you've got your lights that square off and kind of protrude. This could be a talking point, really, because some people would have maybe liked it a little bit more tapered, more contoured, but this angle right here goes very well with the side of the automobile, if you look at it. It adds girth, it adds some widthness to it. It's not bad. Again, it's evolving, right? It can't live in the past. You got your third brake light up here, and above that, your shark's fin antenna. Available on the RAV is a power tailgate with a good amount of space, I might add. Then underneath that, you've got your full-size spare tire. Flat lip, I might add, also, so that loading heavier stuff is not a problem. And then obviously when you want to keep it secure, or let's say for example keep it away from prying eyes, then you've got a tonneau that covers it as such. I think that's kind of classy, don't you think? And there you go. The seats do fold. It's a 60-40 split, so that can fold flat, which gives you a boatload more space. I like the fact that this car, this size, has a power tailgate. I think that's actually pretty classy. Oh, and at least I forget, underneath, you've got two pipes underneath. Real pipes. So when you really want to floor it, and you want to tell the electric motor to just be quiet for a while, and you want to spend some dinosaur bones coming out or dinosaur fluid coming out, then yeah, those guys really do work. Let's go to the second row and tell you what it's like. Now, for the passengers in the second row, I gotta tell you, I know you guys have heard me say that I'm not the biggest person on the planet, blah, 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 but really, the space back here is quite impressive. Not just the legroom, which is good, not just the headroom, which is good, but even the elbow room is actually pretty good. The person sitting in the center, yes, there is a tunnel, so that is much of an issue, but it seems as if that there's so much real estate for the third person, who could be my height and my size and not anybody smaller, could actually fit in here with two other adults on each side. It's quite nice. The leather it's a decent quality leather, Isofix here and there, but the leather is decent. It's not as supple as, let's say, for example, perhaps inside the Camry. That's a little bit softer, a little bit more upmarket, so to speak. This is just decent leather, probably easier to clean. Toys back here include a center armrest with 2 cup holders. I did mention already that this is a 60-40 split. Then you've got bottle holders on either door and speakers on either door. In the center here, there are 2 air vents, which is great, especially in the summer. And then 2 USB charging points that are both 2.1 amperes. So no need to share. There's a lot of air for everyone, a lot of space for everyone. And at the same time, there is also a panoramic roof that obviously everyone can share it. How about them apples? And then there's just one thing. This is probably extremely small and inconsequential to most people. But I like the fact that there is a panoramic sunroof, which I'm going to close, by the way, because it's kind of bright. But there is a panoramic sunroof, so you wouldn't expect, let's say, for example, a dome light for the rear passengers. And yet there is one located here. Check it out. See, like I said, it's very inconsequential to a lot of people, but it's just something that I found that not most cars with a panoramic sunroof have a light that the second row can activate. So that basically speaks for the rear seats. I don't know if you can hear, but the electric motor was just joined by the gasoline motor. So now, because we've got the aircon on, but earlier, if you couldn't hear the the gasoline motor, it was because the electric motor was doing all the cooling of the car, and it was just absolutely silent. Anyway, enough about the rear. Let's get to the front. And now on the business end of the RAV4, I'm gonna turn the air down just, that's up. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit so that it doesn't interfere with the microphone, so that you can hear me talk about this cockpit. It's a pretty decent cockpit. It has definitely evolved and matured over time compared to the previous generations. Let's start at the top, where these are actually soft touch, okay, but it's mixed with some hard plastics as well. But you can't really tell the difference between the soft touch and the hard plastics because they kind of have almost the exact same pattern. So you actually do have to touch it to figure out which one's the plastic and which one is the soft touch. If that's good or bad, I'll leave that to you. What is good, I like this contrast stitching that's found on the dash, which is also found on the seats as well. Some of the features here, you've got an auto-dimming mirror. Of course, you've got your buttons for your roof there. Your air controls are these huge knobs. I don't know if you can tell, but it's rubberized and there's texture to it. And it looks, actually it looks pretty great. I found that the turning, there is barely any resistance, but there are notches when you turn it. I found that what they actually look like, it looks like what I would imagine the Caterpillar drive, the propulsion system of a submarine would look like. I've been watching way too much Hunt for Red October recently, but that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's pretty cool, really. And then underneath that, you've got your traction control. And then here's the odd thing, heated seats. Again, we're really not gonna use it in the Philippines. Hello. I kind of wish that the low actually meant it would cool you off. We thought it would, but after about 10 minutes of driving, I was like, yeah, that's not cool seats at all. I like the addition, however, of the wireless charging pad that's available right there. Work? I have to turn it on, don't I? Oh, there you go. See? Charges it. And then there's a 12-volt socket there and a USB port, which is connected to the infotainment system, which, by the way, the infotainment system has Android and Apple capabilities and even a DVD player. Talk about a throwback to the 90s. And then this screen right here, I don't know if you can come in and close, check it out. This screen right now, if you can tell, right now it's telling me that we are running on battery power right now. And then when the engine turns on, there will be a blue line from the engine that charges the battery so that everything can run very, very smoothly. So, oh, and the knobs on the radio are the same as the air controls as well. There's some texture there with just a couple of notches. The steering wheel feels good to the touch. It's got a myriad of buttons on it, from your cruise control and your switching through whatnot on the computer in the center, and also your audio controls as well. It's got voice activated command there. Your cluster here has your fuel gauge and your temperature, and then basically a very large gauge that tells you whether you're in power, eco, or in charging mode. You'll notice that you're in charging mode when you lift off the accelerator, when you're coasting a little bit, or when you step on the brakes as you're moving at speed. Then that's what really charges the battery. And truth be told, when you're driving this car, you feel really good when you know that when you're slowing down and you're charging something, as opposed to just wasting your time by just slowing down and losing momentum. This time, your loss in momentum gets translated to energy saving into the batteries, which then you can use later on. I just absolutely love that fact. It's got a slew of Toyota Safety Sense features, which includes pre-collision system, automatic high beam, lane tracing assist, lane departure alert, and dynamic radar cruise control. It's also got other tech like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, ABS, vehicle stability control, and hill start assist. Least I forget, there are also drive modes. There's eco, normal, sport, and of course a full EV mode. I like that. And then of course cup holders found here, as cup holders are found on either door, and then a center console box with a 12-volt socket. This thing's actually quite deep. Build quality. Okay, this part shakes, this part wiggles. So all in all, not bad. Now, there are just two things that I need to point out that I'm not extremely happy about. Number one is that the integration of this screen into the dashboard is not winning me any favors, or is not winning it any favors with me, because, well, this part right here I am not a fan of. The screen itself could be a little bit bigger, but even if it stayed the same, it's just this. I'm not too happy with this. I understand that you can put CDs and, again, DVDs in there, but really it's a feature that not a lot of people are going to use. So maybe if you take that fact out and then just reconfigure it somehow, would actually look a little better, because everything else actually works for me. And then the second thing that kind of doesn't win favors on me also is the price. And that, well, it's a complicated thing. I'll explain. See, the thing is, the RAV4 comes in at 2,500,000 Philippine pesos for this top of the line limited. Another 15,000 Philippine pesos, by the way, if you get the pearl white, which, yes, I agree, it's a little bit on the expensive side, but hey, you do get a hybrid system. And the fuel figures of 18.5 kilometers per liter is actually pretty stellar. So if you decide to go around the market and try to figure out what other cars you can get for that price, there are a lot. Starting with, let's say, for example, a premium automobile like the Mazda CX-5. Now, I've made no secret, that car is definitely one of my top 3 cars that I would get for myself. And it's much more affordable. So then the argument is that the RAV4 actually comes in at a much affordable price when you go for the lower variant, the XLE, because that comes in at 2,157,000 Philippine pesos. So then now you're basically in the same price range as the Mazda CX-5. But the RAV comes in a hybrid with the same fuel figures. Now, if you'd like to know what the differences are between the Limited and the XLE, head on over to our website, AutoDeal.com.ph, and there we can list down everything, the changes of, or rather what you have in one automobile against the other automobile. And if you'd also like to book a test drive of the RAV, do log on to our website as well, because we can do that for you and get in touch with the dealer that's closest to you. Thanks for joining us on this quick little walk around on the 2022 RAV4. Pretty gorgeous, isn't it? Jack, are we taking this model home? You're not gonna answer me, right? You're like a mime. Does anybody know else of a cameraman that can push the button on the camera? Because this guy, really, I don't know what this guy does. Does nothing.